What's going on YouTube? This is Wayne with Wayne's Fish World, and this week we're coming at you with a saltwater video. This week it's going to be on a species, none other than the mimic tang. I absolutely love tangs. Tangs are my favorite saltwater fish. My favorite fish of all time is the yellow Hawaiian tang. This week we're going to be talking about the mimic tang. These fish originate from Fiji, Indonesia, and Sri Lanka. The interesting thing about these fish is they're called mimic tangs, and a lot of people are confused because they see a lot of different colorations in these fish. Is it a different species? No. They'll actually mimic the most common dwarf angel in the area that they are collected in. These fish are very easy to care for. They're one of the most rewarding saltwater fish. One thing you have to know about these fish though is that mimic tangs will lose their mimic colorations as they age. When you take that fish and introduce it into your aquarium, as time goes on, it will age and lose its colorations and go into a more darker, browner hues and a little bit of red tint on the ends of the fins colorations, and the rest of its life it will actually stay that color. It will not go back to the mimic colorations. Tangs need a lot of space, and there's one thing out there that everyone has heard of in saltwater is the tang police. What are tang police? Let's put this nicely. They're very, very caring for the species of tangs. What size tank should a mimic tang go in? Honestly, give it the biggest tank you can afford. I wouldn't want to see a mimic tang in anything less than a 55. I would really like to see it in a 75 because a 75 is a little wider. Both these tanks are 4 foot long, which is key to smaller tangs like yellow tangs, coli tangs, mimic tangs. Ideally, I would like to see a mimic tang in a 75, a 90, a 120, or even a 125 gallon tank. It can survive in a 55 gallon tank. Just make sure you don't have a cluster of rocks and corals in your tank. That's the key. When you have tangs and other fish that like to swim a lot, you have to provide open room. You can have a 220 gallon, but if it's stacked with SPS's corals and other type of marine life, there's no swimming room. You have to provide open space for the fish that you are housing. Even though tangs can eat meaty foods, you need to feed them veggies. Tangs are herbivores. They don't eat meat, they eat leaves. You have to feed them leaves, veggies, spirulina and flake food. Go to a local fish store. Your local fish store should have a refugium section. Feed them fern caulerpa, red dragon tongues, dragon breath. They love red macroalgae, so go after some green macroalgae as well. If you do not feed your tangs veggies, they will develop lateral line and head erosion, and eventually it'll kill them. You can feed your tangs meaty foods, frozen foods, cyclopses, and all the other frozen food you feed the rest of your fish, but you need to have vegetation. The best thing to do is to get a piece of live rock, take a rubber band or zip tie, or grow macroalgae on that rock and place it in your tank. Keep a vast amount of macroalgae in your sump refugium. That way you can provide your tang to a constant supply of macroalgae. That's what these fish need. If you don't have macroalgae, you can give them seaweed, you can give them nori, you can give them lettuce and cabbage. Just make sure that they're getting the veggies that they need. Other than that, guys, 55 gallon aquarium, 75 gallon aquarium, standard saltwater parameters. If you're housing more than one tang, make sure it's I wouldn't say an odd number, but it's best to have tangs in an odd number. You wouldn't want to have 2 tangs in the aquarium. You would want at least 3. That way they're constantly not pecking at each other. But they're really rewarding fish, guys. Comment, rate, and subscribe. If you have a mimic tang, leave your thoughts and comments in the section below. I'll see you guys next week with a new video. Comment, rate, and subscribe. This is Wayne with Wayne's Fish World. Later.